And hello, Cherries fans. Welcome to another edition of Cherry Picking. This week, you'll notice that there's a slightly different lineup. Obviously, Craig is not here. I'm filling in, obviously, for Craig this week. And I'm very happy to introduce Malcolm, who's our guest this week. Malcolm, how are you doing?
Hi, Matt. Great, thanks. And you?
Yep, all good. And we'll have a little discussion about the recent games shortly. Obviously, we've had two, one in the Cup and one in the League. But first of all, just to get started, we'll do the Guess the Cherry for this week, which we do every week. So this week's Guess the Cherry is the clues. We'll reveal all at the end of the show. But this week's clues are that he began his career at QPR. He made 56 appearances in a Cherries shirt, scoring 8 times. He played for Newcastle, Chelsea, Gillingham, and Charlton during his career. He was capped by England at youth and under 17 level. He is now a Christian minister, and he recently published his autobiography, A Greater Glory from Pitch to Pulpit. That was actually published in 2021. So that's the clues for this week's Guess the Cherry. I'm sure you've probably got a couple of ideas, Malcolm, on who it might be.
Yeah, one or two.
Yeah, so I'll when we bring it up at the end, I'll let you have a guess and see who it is. But yeah, so let's get started then. So this week we obviously, well, this week Sunday, previous Sunday we played Manchester City in the Emirates FA Cup, which after a very, very good first half, which looked very promising, the second half was um, very below par bar standards, and unfortunately we lost the game 2-1. But Malcolm, what was your views on the game overall?
Well, I'll be very honest. I couldn't actually watch it, so I had to follow it on AFCB TV
Oh yeah.
on audio. Now, I haven't done that since sometime in the 80s, listened to a football match live, but it was really, really interesting. They had John Williams as co-commentator. So, and obviously they tell you, parts of the ground and everything else. So you get an idea of where everything's happening. And John Williams is very sort of honest. If things are good, he'll say so, and if they're not so good, he will also say so.
Mm-hmm.
But listening to the commentary, sort of certainly in the second half, it was more or less one-way traffic, and Bournemouth didn't have an answer. So that is the feel I got from obviously listening. Yeah, I was bubbling at half time, so thinking if this is on, this is still on, but it wasn't meant to be, I'm afraid, for whatever reason. Tired
Mm.
legs, perhaps, or just very clever from City.
Yeah, I think personally, I think a little bit of both there. I mean, we did look quite jaded in that second half. And also our defence, we didn't. I thought there was a bit of a poor performance from the likes of Zabani, and I know Senesi had just come back from injury, so it's never easy getting chucked straight back in. But yeah, I think it was second half was a really below par performance from us, which was quite
Yeah,
disappointing. And half time, I was trying not to get too excited, but I said to the guys I go to the games with, my brother, my dad, and a couple of other friends, I said to them, I said, right, how are we how are we going to get to Wembley? And my friend turned around and said, whatever you do, don't jinx it. And I think I must have jinxed it because obviously
so it's your fault.
it's my fault. Yeah. So yeah, obviously it was a shame to go out. I mean, for us to only make the quarterfinals 3 times, and the form we've had this season, and we know City haven't had the greatest of years. I stuck my neck out on the line on here a few weeks ago and said, we beat City, we win it, and I still honestly believe that if we'd have beaten City,
Yeah.
I still think we would have gone on and won it. But yeah, not to be. There's always next year, as they say. But yeah, unfortunately, yeah, disappointing result. But we still got the league. We still have ways into Europe, which we'll discuss a little bit later. But just before we briefly discuss the Ipswich game from Wednesday evening, we've got the results from the now I'll get it done. So now, get it. The results from the Hall of Fame. So recently, we asked on Facebook and some of our socials, who do we feel that was the greatest midfielder that has played for Bournemouth, and the winner is in this footage. So we'll have a look who is joining our Hall of Fame. And there we have it. So Ian Bishop won the vote on our socials, and stay tuned to our Facebook pages and our other socials this coming week, as we will be asking who you feel is the best striker that has played in a Bournemouth shirt. And we can all vote for our favourite strikers. I'm sure there's a few out there that will say a couple of names that are already in the Hall of Fame, but I'm sure there'll be some others with some surprises as well. But let's move on to last night's game, Malcolm. Ipswich. Now, I think we both said very frustrating. You managed to watch this one live. I think it was live last night for you, wasn't it? And for me, I thought, again, a fairly decent first half, but again, second half just seemed to, fall to pieces.
I think it was very difficult, actually. Okay, the first half, Ipswich at the back, they were pretty solid. Their centre backs, definitely. We got the ball up the pitch quite, without too many problems. But final third didn't offer that much, to be honest with you. One noticeable occasion was when Semenyo trotted across from the left to the right, because nothing was much happening for him on the left. And then came his chance almost instantly, and I'm thinking, well, why doesn't he stay there? Very difficult. And as is in football, you get one cleared off the line and they go down the other end and score. So bad goal to give away, I'm afraid. But that's football. Difficult second half because injuries, substitutions. First of all, they moved Dean Howson across to the right back, and then it was all change. Cookie up in midfield, and then change again. And I think crikey, once again they pushed on, but delivery wasn't good. In the second half, yes, they scored a goal. I think they could have got a draw out of it. I think they really could have got a draw. I think that would have been fair over 90 minutes. But Palmer had a good game. Ipswich goal. I think really, frustrating as a Bournemouth fan. But if you look at it, from both the two teams playing a game of football, they were clinical, and their winner. Sorry to have to say it, but Delap He is class. He held the ball up. He waited. Nice pass out, and he ran, and nobody went with him.
Yeah.
And we got punished for it. As simple as that, really. So yeah.
I mean, I think you kind of touched on it briefly there. I thought yesterday's second half. I'm never a big fan of changing your back line unless you have to.
That's right.
I don't know whether you'll agree, but Smithy. Okay, I understand Smithy's just coming back from injury as well. Probably not, obviously, 100% match fit. But I always think you kind of upset the balance by changing the back four. And do you reckon that sort of maybe contributed to last night's defeat?
I think the important thing is because Smithy played pretty decent, to be honest with you, the first half.
Yeah.
Had a decent game. But when he was off, Cookie went to right back, and I can't remember what time it was in the game, but when Ryan Christie went off, and then Cookie pushed up into midfield, and that disrupted everything. So there was no balance there. It looked a little bit disjointed, if you like.
Yeah.
A couple of times they were a little bit uncertain, just with a basic pass. And I'm thinking, come on, they're professional enough, but it must have got in their heads at some point, I think. Who knows? But you're going to have to write it off and say, hey ho, it's happened, and you just have to move on.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's a very quick turnaround again. It's a Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, and 3 o'clock kickoff. So, and only got his work cut out.
Yeah, it's a definitely a big run of games here, and I just think with Christie as well coming off, I just think that kind of upset the balance even more. And like you say, it's a case of this. We've got to write this one off now. There's still plenty of points to play for, isn't there, across the rest of the season, which a bit later on. But I mean, if you had to pick a man of the match from last night, who would got your man of the match?
In the Bournemouth team?
Yeah.
Difficult. One that impressed me last night was Scott. He had a decent game.
I agree.
It's very difficult because they're like good players. They sort of didn't play long enough. Tried effort. Antoine played better the second half than the first, my opinion. It was difficult to pick one out to actually say, yeah, he was the star man in our team. Cookie puts a shift in all the time, no matter where he plays. So I'll go with Lewis Cook because he puts his heart into it. He really does. I mean, he doesn't get the accolades he deserves, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I was fairly impressed with Ipswich, to be fair, considering they're down there. I think are they 12 points behind Wolverhampton? Is that
they probably are now.
Yeah. And I thought, they got a decent squad of players there. And,
they have,
I think, maybe if some results had gone their way this season, they probably would have, quite comfortably stayed up. But do you think they're a side that will possibly go back down and then bounce back straight up next year? Or do you reckon that they may suffer a little bit like Luton have this year and sides like Huddersfield in the past?
Difficult to answer, but okay, first of all, they're 9 points behind Wolves at the moment. Yeah. If they go down, which is very likely, I don't think they can hold Dilap.
No.
But if they can keep the rest of the squad together, they've got a really decent manager. There's been no talk about moving him on, and why should they? I mean, what he's done there is a super job, really. I think they could be in the push to come straight back up. A little bit of clever signing, perhaps, and a bit of good business in the summer. Why not? I'd like to see them back up, to be honest with you.
Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah. I thought that the side made a good account of themselves last night. I thought their fans were great as well, and it's fair play to them. They really stuck behind them, their fans, considering the season they've had. And last night, I don't think singing last night, to be fair to them. So, it's a good little club, Ipswich. So unfortunately, if they do go down, which, like we say, is looking very likely, I wish them all the best next season, and hopefully they don't struggle back in the Championship, because as we all know how difficult the Championship can be. It's a division that obviously we've spent a few years in, and obviously we've been lucky to be promoted twice out of it. But it is a very, very difficult league, isn't it? But we look forward, and as you say, Malcolm, we can only sort of dust ourselves down and go again, and we look forward to this weekend. And of course, we're playing West Ham this weekend. So on the channel now, we've got this week's match preview, which Craig has done before he decided to jet off to sunny climates. So potting the way back to success. So Craig spoke to James from E20 Zone TV, and they spoke about West Ham's season, and how things are looking in the future with Graham Potter in charge. So do check that one out. That's now live on the channel. Have you managed to check that one out yourself, Malcolm?
Yes, watched it this morning. It's really, really interesting. Very honest views from James from E20. What he says about West Ham, how the fans, they're like split 50-50. Very, very interesting. He thinks Saturday is going to be a tough game. Also believes that probably West Ham won't get the win that probably a lot of West Ham fans are hoping. That was his view, but watch for yourselves. And I don't know how it's going to go. I mean, West Ham had a blip yesterday, didn't they? I think they lost 1-0 or something at Wolves, was it?
Yeah.
Graham Potter is struggling to find his way a little bit. Probably with not so much the club. It is a different thing from Chelsea, and he's sort of miles away from what he was at Brighton. But on the day they can produce, but it's been a little bit, for them a little bit lackluster this season.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? Obviously, depends what starting 11 we've got. Just go for the off, first whistle and go at them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I like to see football anyway. Obviously, they can't keep it up for 90 minutes, but make a dent in it and see if you can play a game out. Obviously with a goal or two would be nice this week, to be honest with you. With the way things are recently. But I don't think we're going to lose the game. There we are. That's my pick.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with you. I think it's going to depend on how, what kind of West Ham side come out on the day. But I think personally, this is the game that turns us back around again and gets us back onto winning form, or at least picking up a point. I think this is the game for us that we get something out of, and we kick on again. This is what I'm believing anyway. And obviously Potter, in fairness to him, I think he's a good coach. I rate the guy, but I think he needs a summer there, doesn't he? Bring his own personnel in, ship some out, ship some in, and kind of put his own personal stamp on the squad. I think he needs a summer, and I think West Ham might be a decent side next season under him. I really do. I think with a full season ahead of him.
Another point is that because Potter came in mid-season, hasn't he? And it's the same with Amorim at Manchester United. Come in half, mid-season. Things just haven't worked.
No.
So it's perhaps steady as ship. Get to the end of the season and go again. Like you say, summer comes along and then do your training, get your prep and everything, and set your stall out basically.
No, definitely. I mean, are you brave enough to give us a score prediction for the game?
Yeah, go on. I'm going to go 2-1 to the Cherries. Okay. Like I said, I'm confident that we're going to get some goals again. It's been difficult, obviously, with Tav being out, Justin Private out as well. Hopefully he'll be back at the weekend.
Yes.
I think really, Justin was the missing link really against Ipswich.
Yeah,
In
no, I
that,
totally agree with you. Yeah, yeah, no,
in that forward role there.
yeah, it does prove how much we missed him. I think up top because, like you say, the final third yesterday, we kind of did struggle there, didn't we? And in areas where you'd expect Clivert to kind of pick up the ball or do something, and just wasn't there, was it? And so hopefully, I think if Clivert's back in there, we're definitely going to get something out of the game. I'm going to go with.
Drum roll.
Oh, drum roll, yeah. I'm gonna have to go. I think we will concede, unfortunately. So I'm gonna go with. Do you know what? I think I'm gonna go with 2-1 like yourself.
Okay.
I can't see us going up there scoring, a bag load of goals at the minute, but I can see us going up there and grinding a win. So yeah, 2-1, 2-1. I'm gonna go with as well. Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Malcolm. 2-1 definitely. And
I,
it'd be good to
I,
get.
I would take an ugly 2-1. There you are.
Oh, yeah, same here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I love the attractive football we play. I mean, I know you do as well, and it's great on the eye. But sometimes, you have got to dig in and dig deep and grind a win out. And if the football's ugly and you get the 3 points, but the 3 points are the most important thing at the end of the day, isn't it? But we have been spoilt for beautiful football this season. So if we've got to grind a few results out, so be it, isn't it?
Yeah.
But let's move on then, because obviously an exciting period at the club, obviously on the pitch and also off the pitch. And recently we have moved into our new £35 million training campus. And there's some photos here and some artist impressions of the complex. And I think this is a extremely important um, thing for the club in terms of the future. I know everybody wants to see a bigger stadium. I mean, I want to see a bigger stadium. I want to see more fans in the stadium. But I think in terms of infrastructure and moving the club forward, I think something like this is vitally important. Um, I mean, what's your views on the training ground of what you know? Because obviously the training ground itself, I mean, it's made up of I think 16 pitches. There's obviously new change rooms in there. There's a beautiful medical suite, a big media, um, a big media area. There's classrooms. I mean, this is really the works.
It's certainly a step up from Kings Park, isn't it? Uh, I think
Yeah,
really, to be honest with you, any players who'd be like attracted to come to Bournemouth, if they saw what they got now as a training complex, I think that would make their minds up quite easily. To see and also taking into account, what the project is with AFC Bournemouth.
yeah,
The
yeah,
ground being the next option, and to see how that works out. But it's all going in the right direction. I just loving it.
yeah.
That's for me, it's just amazing. I get a buzz out of it all.
Yeah, I mean, like you've mentioned there, like Kings Park. I mean, if you go back over the years and you talk to like ex pros and that, and they would like. I mean, I did an interview with David Stocks, a captain from the '70s, and he was talking about how they were training in the car park and things
Mm.
like that. And then you talk to players that played under Harry and they were forever getting kicked off Kings Park because they weren't
Right.
allowed to train on there, and then they were just trying to knock about driving around Bournemouth just to find a piece of grass to train on, and then all of a sudden we've got this, marvelous training facility, which for first team it's going to attract obviously first team players as well, but also for the youngsters coming through the ranks, it's going to attract the best youngsters in the area and the surrounding areas to want to come to the academy and train for the club as well. And so I think this is vital for not only signing top quality players but also producing our own.
That's right. Yeah. If I'm right, the ladies team also train over there as well, don't they?
Yeah, the ladies team have been training over there for a little while, to my knowledge. I think they've been in the dome for a little while training. There's the big indoor facility there. And I think the ladies have been training there for quite some time now. So yeah, I mean, look at the ladies' success over the last week, and they've got a great training facility now to use as well, which is only going to enhance their performances, and for them to attract the best players in the ladies department as well.
Very good.
Yeah, it's a beautiful scene, and I just think this is so vitally important for the project going forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the news from that. Then obviously the training campus is open. Nice picture there of Eva Nilsson outside the campus. But yeah, now the team are now moved in there, and we'll I'm sure we'll be seeing regular updates and pictures. And I know there's been some footage from the club as well put onto various different media platforms of the players going in on the first day. And but yeah, no, I think that is a massively vital tool in terms of the club's future progression. So it's great to finally see it open after all this time, watching it being built. And so yeah, exciting times, like you say, Malcolm, exciting times. But let's learn a little bit more about yourself, Malcolm. So obviously you're living in Germany, and do you want to tell us a little bit about your history of supporting Bournemouth, and what brought you to Germany?
Okay, you're going to put me on the spot. Thanks for that.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, well, I first went to Bournemouth to watch in 1968. So it's going back quite a few years now. I cannot remember the first game, but just got bitten. It's like an instant drug. Followed them through Division 3, back down to Division 4, back up, yo-yo in between 3 and 4. And eventually Div 2, which, to be honest with you, I think was the best day out I've ever had with Bournemouth. Was in May, whatever year it was, 87, when they were up at Craven Cottage.
Yeah.
It was just an absolutely wonderful occasion. Just everything you wanted and wished for, and it happened. And to finally say we've done it, got out of Division 3, but in the right direction. Superb. And they had a good team. It's what Harry had built up. So definitely a highlight for me. Saw some really decent football. I mean, I've been to quite a few away games. I think probably the furthest one I saw was, crikey, it was the cup game with Darlington. When we drew 1-1, won the replay, and then we played Manchester United at home. Whatever year that was, I can't remember. That was sometime sort of late. Yeah, that must have been around about the 90s. Yeah, I moved to Germany in 95. Don't have to give a reason, do I? So, yeah, set up a new life here, and as you do, when things aren't working, then you either stick with what you got or say, come on, there is more, and you just get on to it. I worked over here several different jobs and ended up being a postie until I retired 3-4 years ago. Yes, obviously fluent German and everything else. But as for the UK, and I'm not going to go political, it's very similar here. Not very good that way. So, enjoy each day, make the most of what you can. There's enough to enjoy in life. Just get out there and do it. Yeah, I'm happy and funny, so I can't complain. And I do get my trips over to the UK, so it's always nice to come home.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. But sticking with the German theme, I did a little bit of research, not a great deal of research, but some of the players that have played in Germany. Now I know there's many more, and I'm sure there's a couple you're probably going to add to the list. But what I managed to find, I mean, I did try to find first, like I was saying to you a little while ago, that I was trying to find players German players that played for Bournemouth, and if there's anybody out there that knows of any, then please let me know. But I couldn't find any. So there's a few players that have played for Bournemouth and have played in Germany. And we've got, first of all, we've got Lys Mousset, the Frenchman. Malcolm, you got any sort of memories of this player? 71 games for Bournemouth, wasn't the most prolific. I think a
Yeah,
lot of
that's,
appearances were on the bench, to be fair. But you got any sort of memories of this player?
yeah, obviously, I watch it live on TV. I thought he was going to go places. I really did. I was really chuffed when Bournemouth picked him up, and he just wasn't getting the minutes. I'm thinking, this is just so wrong. The guy is potential, but obviously, over the following years, it hasn't worked out for him.
Yeah, no.
And he has dropped back down a couple of leagues or wherever now. I don't even know where he is at the moment, to be honest with you. So
he's now, and you probably won't believe this, but he's actually now playing for Bohemians in the Irish League.
really, now you surprised me.
Yeah, so
Okay.
he's back in red and black, because I think they wear red and black, if I remember rightly. But yeah, he's playing for them now. I mean, the club he played for out in Germany, I mean, please excuse me, but I've never heard of them before.
Okay, well, the pronunciation is VfL, the VFL, VfL
Yeah.
Bochum.
Right. Okay.
They're always in the shadows of Dortmund, if you like. So
Right. Okay.
one of those sort of teams that they really should push on in the Bundesliga, but they always around the bottom. Whether they stay up this season, I'm not sure. But they're a yo-yo team. They'll go up and down. Nice little
Right.
fan base. Yeah, like I said, in the shadows of Borussia Dortmund, really. But not bad team to watch. Used to see them quite a lot in the second division. When they used to get free TV, second division football here. I got quite used to it, and it was a good fun weekend being able to watch some second division football. Yeah, something different. There you are. Second division, I wouldn't say it's as good as the championship in that respect. Probably lower championship to third division. That's just my opinion. But
Right.
yeah, some scrappy games to watch. Some really tough games. Yeah, it's good.
Right. Okay. Yeah, like I say, I mean, I've learned something now. So these are in the shadow of Dortmund. They're the yo-yo. They're a yo-yo club up and down between the sort of top two divisions. Then, from the sounds of things, Mousset, he made no appearances for him. I think he had a couple of seasons spell there, according to his stats, and there's no appearances that have gone against his name. So not too sure what happened for him there, but he's currently, like I say, at Bohemians. But just before we look at the next player, it's time to say a quick thank you to our sponsors, Dental on the Banks, and of course Touchpoint Telecoms, who obviously support this channel, and we really do appreciate everything they do. And so, of course, it's time to play the advert for Dental on the Banks. And to find out what they can do for you, check out dentalonthebanks.co.uk. And for all your telecom needs, don't forget to check out the website for Touchpoint Telecoms. So back to the players that have played in Germany then. So our next player, Josh King. Now, I didn't realise he actually had a spell in Germany, Malcolm, to be honest with you. But obviously, we all know what Josh did for us in the Bournemouth shirt. 184 appearances, 53 goals. Was, a real key figure in our first sort of Premier League period. There was the season, I think it was our second season when we finished 9th in the league, when he was our leading goal scorer, I think that season, if I remember rightly. But the pronunciation of this one, I'm sure you're probably better at me pronouncing it, but is it Borussia?
Mönchengladbach.
Yes. Have they been in the Champions League?
Yeah, they have been. Once again, another team from Westphalia, so it's certainly over that way. That's where a lot of them come from. They were. In fact, Liverpool beat them, didn't they, in the 70s in the final? If I remember rightly. First time Liverpool won a Champions. What was the European Cup then?
European Cup, yeah.
Yes, they used to have a pretty decent setup there.
Yeah, well, Josh's spell there was in 2011. I'm sure probably at that time maybe you hadn't heard of him. Were you aware that he played?
No. 6 appearances. That sounds not very many, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was only a loan spell. He was at United at the time. He had a loan spell at Preston and then went out on loan to Germany. Loan spell at Hull as well, and then a loan spell at Blackburn before permanently signing for them. So, while he was at United, he was out on loan quite a bit from my memory, if it serves me right.
But no, good player.
Yeah, for me, he was. It was a shame how it ended. I know he didn't sort of leave on the best of terms, really. But I know he had a spell at Fenerbahce, and now I think he's playing in the French league with Toulouse, I believe.
I think you're right.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No. So, I'm sure there's players I forgot, but most recent player, still in our squad that's played in Germany, is Tyler Adams for Leipzig. But is Leipzig owned by Red Bull, or is that just me thinking that they are?
And it's correct. Yeah, Red Bull.
Right. Okay.
That's why RB Leipzig.
Red Bull Leipzig. Yeah, of course it makes sense. Yeah, just like Red Bull New York and the other clubs that they've invested in. Tyler Adams had a very, very productive spell for this club. I mean, do you remember anything of Tyler playing for them, or?
No, because simple reason being, I've gone off the boil with the Bundesliga. I think being captivated by the Premier League. Yes, I can follow it on paper. I obviously on the apps and everything, results and one thing and another. But I got a little bit bored watching it, to be honest with you, because of let's just say the levels weren't Premier League.
Yes.
But not being detrimental, but it's the choice, and there is the financial side of it. If I have to watch the Bundesliga, that costs me more money.
Does it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky enough to have a packet which includes Premier League, and that'll do me. And if I want to, I miss out on a lot of games like Champions League, Europa League, and things like that, simply because you have to pay for it, and there is a limit. There is a limit.
No, definitely, no. I totally agree with you. I mean, this man this season, I think, he's had his injury problems since he joined us, which have been really unfortunate. He's only made 27 appearances for us so far in his career, but I think this season he's really come into his own, and he looks, for me, it's a great headache now for IRAOLA to have. You've got 3 really good midfielders. Obviously, Christie's the engine room. You know, you've got Lewis Cook, who puts 110% effort in every week, and then you've got the quality of Adams. I mean, it's a great headache for a manager to have such good players, but it is a case of who do you drop, who do you pick, who do you rotate. I mean, I know it's been a bit easier for him recently, obviously with Lewis Cook playing right back, but obviously now Smithy's fit. You know, you would expect a natural right back to go back in there. But I mean, from your perspective, you know, your view on Tyler Adams this season.
Awesome, absolutely awesome. Top player. Yeah, fitness, keep him fit. He's absolutely dynamic. He very aggressive, technically brilliant, but can read the game.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Ideal man to have behind Christie, to be honest with you. You know, not being respectful to Lewis. I would certainly have Tyler Adams in there first of all, you know, and then alongside Christie.
yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of Lewis and Ryan, and you know, I'm and from what I've seen of Tyler, and Tyler's growing on me a lot more now, and you know, you could see there's a difference in that midfield when Tyler's not in there. Like you say, he does give you that extra bite in the midfield, doesn't he?
Yeah,
He's a great ball winner, and like you say, he's intelligent with the ball at his feet as well, isn't he?
that's right.
You know, he's for me, he's gonna. I think the more he plays for Bournemouth, I think he's gonna be that linchpin in the midfield. I think he's gonna be that person that, like you say, sits in behind Christie, and Christie can then be a bit more creative and push forward, you know, with more confidence, knowing that you've got Adams in behind you, that if the ball needs to be won, you know that man's going to win the ball for you.
That's right. And he wants the ball as well. You
Yes.
know, he's shouting at the players, "Come on, you know, give me the ball." And he sees things that other players don't. Obviously, being in that position,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
his awareness is really good.
Yeah. I mean, you can see why I mean, he's definitely captain material, isn't he? I know he hasn't actually got the armband. Obviously, we know
Yeah,
Smithy is captain, and you know, rightly so. Really, I mean, Smithy is the, you know, the long-standing member of the squad. He knows the club like the back of his hand, and deservedly so should be captain. But this guy is captain material, so even though he hasn't got the armband, he still leads on that field, I think.
Captain America, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
absolutely, absolutely. Well,
and
Mal,
he
uh,
actually played alongside Justin Kluivert at Leipzig as well, by the way.
yes, I was just going to say, I'm sure I've forgotten some players, and like I said, I've only quickly done some research on it. But I mean, Kluivert obviously as well played for Leipzig. But any other Cherries players come to mind that have played in Germany? I like I say, it was quite a you know, like I said, I haven't spent ages on it researching it, but just briefly researching it, it was tricky. It was straight away there was like no players that have played for Bournemouth that were German, so I switched it the other way. That was still, you know, only a few selection, and actually where I was researching it, Clivert's name didn't appear, but I do remember him being there. But if anyone's watching and they know of any players that we've missed, obviously Malcolm's just added Justin Clivert to those that short list of names there. But if we have missed any and you know of any, then you know do get in contact with us at UTCID afcb@gmail.com or comment on the YouTube video. So yeah, just drop a comment in below and give us some names. It'd be great to see who we've missed because you know I'm sure there is probably some other players out there that we may have missed, or if there is any German players that anybody know that's played for Bournemouth over the years, also drop them in because that'd be great to see that as well. But Malcolm, let's move on to back onto this season, and obviously, I know you've done a bit of research, and let's look at how IRAOLA is going to point us into the direction of Europe. Bournemouth's remaining fixtures are on the screen now, so obviously we know we go to West Ham this coming Saturday, but your pick of the fixtures and where you think that we'll potentially get the points to confirm a European place. I mean, is there any games that you've? I mean, I know I've highlighted a few, but is there any games that you've specifically highlighted that where Bournemouth will get the points to qualify for Europe?
Very, very difficult. Okay, I've gone for a win on Saturday.
Yeah,
West Ham. Potential point winners. Okay, home to Leicester, beating the last one. There is nothing saying we can't beat Man United again, because well, what are they playing for? Nothing in the league, to be honest with you. Potential other points, Fulham, because they are, although they're good, I always like watching Bournemouth Fulham. It's always a good game. Potentially a draw, but hopefully you'll win. So I mean, just pick those out. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's another dozen points, and that'll take us up to whatever it is. Who knows? Arsenal, you're not expecting anything from, but who knows?
Yeah.
Yes, they've got their injuries accumulating again. I don't expect us to beat City. I don't expect us to get a draw there, to be honest with you, because I think they will.
They're going to be.
They're going to be on a roll, and they'll secure fourth place, I think.
They're going to want
to. Palace dropping a point or two last night came as a surprise. But once again, they've had a smashing run. Very difficult side to play against. Defensively, well structured, hard to break down. If we can get a point at Palace, I'll go along with that. And the other one is Aston Villa. I'm not so sure.
Difficult one.
Well, they've got a team that wants, top end football. Yes, they're fighting in Europe at the moment. Anything can happen with them. FA Cup, I believe, as well, aren't they? So,
of course. Yeah, they're still in that. Yeah.
I'm just going to have to check my notes here. And they have to play. They'll have to play 3 of the top 9. Here we are in their remaining fixtures. So points will be won and lost. And if you look at the other clubs around, Fulham, they've got to play 4 of the top 9, and it goes on sort of 2s and 3s. So there's some really good battles there. The biggest surprise for me was Brighton's result against Villa last night. Didn't see that coming.
Yes.
At all. So
big 3 points there for Villa. Big 3 points.
It's just showing you. I did look at Forest fixtures, but to be honest with you, I think they will finish 3rd. So I won't even look into them at the moment.
I mean, these are obviously the surprise outfit, aren't they?
But brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It's what they've done.
Yes.
Sometimes not pretty.
No.
But they do the job.
It's for me. I mean, when we do a tier list on the channel every year, so we kind of predict where teams are going to finish, and I predicted them to struggle this season, so I couldn't be any more wrong. But you're absolutely right. I mean, it may not always be attractive, but they get the results, don't they? And the manager, all credit to the manager. I mean, they must be pinching themselves up at the City ground because, first FA Cup semi-final in 30 odd years, and in the top 4 of the Premier League, they've not really seen anything like this since, the great Brian Clough. So, I mean, I think you're right here. I mean, I could, the games that they've got, yes, they got Villa this coming weekend, but they play Everton. I mean, Spurs, we all know that, depends what Spurs side turns up. But you would expect with their remaining fixtures there that they would get enough points to see them over the line, wouldn't you?
I would think so. Certainly 5 wins there, definitely.
Yeah. No, I
just looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And you know, they
Uh,
they will be back in the European Cup, obviously, which they've won twice. You know, they won it back to back, didn't they? And was it the late
yeah,
'70s? Was it they won it back to back? And so for the city ground, and the fans, and it's going to be amazing to see Champions League football there.
wonderful, wonderful. And
Yeah,
this just proves a point that, you mentioned you thought they would struggle this year, and I will go along with it. I didn't think they would, um,
do that.
see themselves a top 10 finish. Um, but amazing, and it just shows that, if you've got the right, all the boxes have got to be ticked. They've got the right manager in now. They got the belief, they got the mindset, they got the system, and even without Chris Wood, they put Manchester away, albeit only 1-0. But that's football. That's what you have to do. Brilliant stuff. And they
Yeah,
got some class. They have got some class players. And I mean, yes, when we played under the Vitality, it was a bad day at the office for them.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that day. I mean, I can't remember what I predicted scoreline for that week, but if someone had said to me we would pick them apart like we did, I probably would have laughed, to be
Yeah,
honest.
me too. Me too.
Yes, they, on that day, they did just, well, fall
Well, they fell
apart.
apart basically, didn't they?
They fell apart, and luckily for us, I think I might have predicted a draw. I think I might have predicted a draw, but yeah, I mean, what a great game of football from our perspective. That was obviously, they had a bad day at the office, like you said, but when you look at their table, they're 57 points,
Mm.
um, and Arsenal in second with only 61. So, you would expect them well, who knows? They could possibly even pip Arsenal at this rate.
That is possible, yeah. But then you have to look behind them. You see, it's not that uh, I'm not worried if they get second or third. It doesn't really. The only difference that makes is how much money they get for the position in the
Yeah,
league, doesn't it?
absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
but if you look at the points difference behind them, I haven't got them to hand here, but I did have a
Um,
look this morning.
so we got Arsenal 61, Forest 57,
Yeah,
Manchester City sitting fourth with 51, and
with
then
51.
Chelsea are in fifth with 50, and Newcastle have 50 in sixth.
Yeah, okay.
So obviously Chelsea are
Um,
playing as we're recording this. So that may change possibly. So it might be a case that City and Chelsea swap round, but yeah, it's very very close there. I mean, even when you look at seventh and eighth, you've got Villa on 48 and then Brighton on 47, and ourselves and Fulham on 45, then ourselves on 44.
yeah.
So it is all very very close there. But yeah, I agree. I think Forest are going to be there. Um, Chelsea. What's your thoughts on Chelsea?
Well, without Cole Palmer, um, they're not. Yeah, they're missing their main man. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know how they're going to get on or how they're getting on tonight. I can't see them finishing up in fifth. I think they'll get in Europa League place. That is my goal. I would say top obviously Liverpool, Arsenal, Forest, Man City. I think one of the other guys are going to come up from behind. Whether it be Newcastle, Aston Villa, who knows? And I think Chelsea will drop down maybe sixth. That is how I see it.
yeah, no, I agree with you. And at this present time, it's currently 0-0.
Okay.
So I mean, when you look at the fixtures, there's games there that you would expect them to win. But like you say, Cole Palmer. But I don't think. Do you know what? I do also think they do miss Nicholas Jackson as well. he's been out injured for a little while. I think if
He has indeed.
yeah, and I think these two combined very well on the pitch as well. I think Palmer misses him, and Jackson misses Palmer.
Jackson stepped up this season. What I saw of him last season, I wasn't sure if he was going to be the real deal.
Yeah,
It's coming into a team and being new and being the focal point, if you like, can't be easy, especially at the level of Premier League. But I take my hat off to him. He had a really good start of the season this season, and he showed, his real potential. So then, obviously, when injuries come in, it doesn't help. And if you haven't got a player that can step up to, fill his boots, if you like, Reece James come back in has helped them
yes,
also. So it's finding the right balance. But it's for Chelsea this season really is a learning curve, I think. And if they end up in Europe, which they should do really,
yeah.
no reason why not. I'm not sure what the score with conference. If they win that, do they go automatically into the Europa League?
And that's a good question because they're still in that, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, do they? Yeah, yes, they get a Europa League place, don't they, if they win the conference? Yeah.
But my take is that they will actually qualify by winning the Conference League. I can't see any opposition there to knock them off, to be honest with you. I think they're the strongest team in that Conference League, which is a nice little competition.
Yes, it is. It is.
It would certainly be a nice first step if we were to make it. Should put it
Yeah,
that way.
totally agree. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah,
Um,
totally agree. I mean, when you look at the fixtures here, I mean, they have got some tough ones in there. They've got Liverpool, who I think Liverpool might only be 4 games away from potentially clinching the title anyway. So it might already be sort of possibly
well,
nearly.
yeah, 4th of May. There is potential that they're already champions. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
by then, isn't there? And then you've got Newcastle, who's going to be fighting for a
yes.
position. And then they go to Forest on the last day of the season, which to go to the ground any time of the season isn't easy. So there is some tough fixtures in there. Obviously, they play Everton, and Everton have had a bit of a change.
Resurgence.
Resurgence is the word I'm looking for under Moyes. So so we reckon Chelsea will be somewhere in Europe, but it might not be through their league place, and it's probably more than likely possibly winning the Conference League. But Man City, I mean, we'd expect to see Man City in the top 4. I think when you look at their running, all those fixtures that they've got there, you would expect them to pick up enough points to get into that top 4, wouldn't you expect, Malcolm?
I would think so, definitely. Yeah. 367, 37 for 21. You give them another 21 points. I can't, I can't see them dropping points with those games. Just, as it is now. But who knows with football?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it has been a bizarre season for City, hasn't it? But I
Yeah.
think they're, obviously when we go up there, obviously, we want Bournemouth to win, but we know that's going to be an extremely difficult game for us up there. But when you look at the rest of their fixtures, you would expect them to have probably maximum
Yeah.
points.
I mean, watching City against Brighton several weeks ago, go at them. If you go at them, you can get a result. Yes, it was a different thing in the cup, but in the league, yeah, they can drop points.
Yeah.
But they're obviously, they will be looking to change their staffing for next season, I would think.
Hmm.
They have got a lot of old legs now in their squad. Sometimes, a wise head is good, but doesn't always fit. And they got some useful young talent around. So, yeah, you've got to put them in the mix for next season, definitely. And European Cup, yeah, Champions League, definitely.
Yeah, no, definitely. I totally agree with you on that one. Newcastle, obviously, we know the success that they've had this season so far. Obviously, with that great cup win, Carabao Cup win a few weeks ago, and obviously we were all very delighted to see Mr. Howe win his first major trophy as a top level manager. It's great to see, because I remember watching Eddie make his debut for Bournemouth on a Boxing Day back in '95. So, to watch him progress all through for his career, it has been great to watch. So it was lovely to see him get his hands on a piece of silverware, which I think that piece of silverware actually guarantees them a playoff place in the Conference League, I think. So they've got European football anyway. But with these fixtures that they've got, remaining here, there's a few difficult ones in there. But I think, I don't think I can see him breaking into the top four, but there's potential for a fifth spot.
They certainly are, definitely. Good result last night against Brentford.
Yeah.
Albeit 2-1. There's no reason why they can't. I think they got the belief now. Keep the players fit. That is, it's the end of the season. They've got a trophy in the bag. They don't have any other fixtures, only Premier League now. So, why not go for it?
Yeah. I think I think they could potentially finish fifth. Like I said, there's a few in there that's in and around them. So obviously Villa.
I would be absolutely delighted if Newcastle finished fifth. There we are.
Yeah, no, I think I would be as well. Yeah, which I think then opens another place up for the Conference League playoff. I think, but don't quote me on that. I might be wrong, but yeah, I would like to see them finish fifth, because it'd be good to see them, potentially in that Champions League again. But obviously, if we go on a resurgence, not at our expense, but yeah, if not, then yeah, no, definitely. But like I say, they got teams in and around them with the likes of Villa and Arsenal and Chelsea, and obviously I know Arsenal are second currently, but they're not second by a million miles away. But there's going to be some crucial games there that they're.
But that's right. I mean, four of them stick out. Like I said, Villa, Brighton away, Chelsea at home, Arsenal away. So it's who knows by the 10th of May. If it's already in the bag for Arsenal, they won't worry too much. I don't think. So there's a potential then for Newcastle to actually get something there, and maybe it's just a training match against Everton. Who knows? Things can change very quickly. But there's some really, really good games there.
Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, Brighton, as we've previously mentioned, I think that they've kind of got a bit of a mixed bag here, really, haven't they? They've got they've got the big match against Palace on Saturday, which is a great match. They call it a derby, don't they? And there's a good story behind that, but obviously that's for another time. But Brighton, then playing Leicester. They go away to Brentford, which is a tricky place for any side to go to.
Yeah.
So, but if there's one team that might slip away here, is it Brighton?
Possibly, yes. Yes.
I'm looking at fixtures. Yeah, I agree. There's
something tells me that you look at the fixture on the 10th of May, they're away to Wolves. They could slip up there. That's definitely one that they could lose. Like you say, Brentford away is a toughie. They should really get 3 points against Leicester.
Yeah.
West Ham. I'm not saying these games are comfortable, because they never are, but potentially 3 points against West Ham. Spurs away, or Spurs at Spurs. You don't know what you're going to get with them, do you? They're
yeah,
not obviously Liverpool at home, which,
yeah,
it's possibly already champions by then. So, yeah, that might play into their hands. Who knows?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, definitely. But
but
I
this weekend is definitely, yeah, a pretty tasty game to see, I think.
yeah, it's definitely, and yeah, going up to West Ham this week. Normally you see quite a lot of other travelling fans when you travel up on the train and that. So yeah, be interesting to see if I bump into anybody on the train this week from Brighton, on the tubes and that on the way to Palace. Villa remaining fixtures now. I think from looking at these, I think they're playing Forest, they're playing City, they're playing Newcastle. They're playing us, obviously. We're in the mix. We can't forget ourselves. So there's a few teams there: Forest, Newcastle, Villa, ourselves. That could cause an upset for Villa.
Yeah, obviously Saturday's game is really, really important.
Yeah,
But after the 3-0 win last night, I think, they've got to have the belief um, to put any side to sleep, to be honest with you. Um, Bearing in mind, they've got, let's just check my notes here to make sure I'm correct. Champions League and FA Cup. So very, very difficult. And there's one fixture missing there, isn't there?
there might
Did I
well
read my
be.
notes correctly?
If
Oh, no,
12th.
no, it's not. It was not Forest. Sorry, the Nottingham Forest, against Brentford. That's rearranged because of FA Cup.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Villa, yeah, that's the fight. Really is Newcastle and Villa. To be honest with you, for that fifth spot. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. It's
but
gonna be.
wasn't tasty games.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's gonna be a tasty fight, isn't it? But
Yeah,
also that's in there as well in the mix. So I think we probably possibly shouldn't forget about is Fulham. Now, obviously,
yeah,
we play Fulham on Monday the 14th. Um, so, like you say, we've had a few tasty games with Fulham over the years. The last time we played them at home was Boxing Day, I think, of last season. They got some tough ones as well. Obviously, they got Liverpool, who are, wanting to confirm the league, so they're going to be gunning to beat them, this coming
yeah.
Sunday, and then play us
Uh,
at home. Which, hopefully, we get a good result at West Ham and build on it against them. Then they play Chelsea. Then they got Villa. Um, so they've got a few sides in and around them as well, haven't they? So, I mean,
It's
what do you
four.
reckon? Yeah, what do you reckon? What do you reckon for Fulham?
I don't think they're going to go much higher than what they already are. Um, no disrespect. I mean, Marcus Hill, he does a wonderful job there, and I do like watching Fulham play. Um, on their day, they're wonderful. There's match for anybody, but they're not consistent enough. They
Yeah,
drop points sometimes, though they shouldn't really be dropping points. A bit like us, really, to be honest with you.
yeah,
Very similar setup, but I don't think they're getting higher than what they are. I mean, if they finish ninth, they finish ninth. Um, but it's still a good season for them. They have to crack on.
yeah,
Obviously, they will pick points up. No reason why not. Um, the thing with Fulham is they score goals, don't they? So
yes,
um,
yeah.
yeah,
They do, and that is yeah. I still think you're right. I can't see them personally going much higher than where they are. But then a lot of fans would probably be saying the same thing about Bournemouth. So,
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
in fairness, but yeah, no, I agree with you on this one. I think out of all the sides we've discussed there, I think these are probably the non-movers, I suppose, in some respects.
yeah. I mean, it's always interesting to. I mean, I wouldn't do it through the whole season, but sort of coming down to the wire, then look into it and see what the opposition are, not just for us. What have they got as a running? What is our potential at the end of the day? They're not all going to win all their games. They're going to be points dropped along the way,
Yeah,
and places will change. Let's put it that way. That's how will Garuda point the Cherries into the direction of Europe? Well,
yeah,
I'll be very
it's
honest with you. Um,
yeah,
my prediction for the season was top 10. I wasn't looking at Europe because I think, moving on from last season, which was excellent, best points and everything. The next step up is consolidate, and then we go again next season. And next season for me is Europe. So
yeah,
I for one won't be disappointed if we don't get into Europe. There are those.
yeah. I totally agree with you, Malcolm. I mean, at the beginning of the season, like I say, when we do our tier list, I predicted 10th.
Well, that's good. Yeah,
And our reason, is similar to what you've just said. For me, it's signs of progression. Now, Bill's got a plan, which we're not even halfway through. We're probably just coming up to maybe halfway through at the start of next season of a 5-year plan.
that's right.
Um, so when it was 14th, we finished last season. Was it 14th or 13th last season? Either
Uh,
way, it was either 14th or 13th, wasn't it? And
yeah,
I remember when we were doing our tier list at the beginning of the season, going up to 10th is signs of progression,
yeah.
like you say, consolidation. So for me, I think I would, we all want to see Bournemouth in Europe. Of course we do. But, is it for me, is it, the end of the end of our chances of getting into Europe if we don't do it this season? I don't think so. I think, like you say, it's signs of progression, and then you go again next season. And I think, and then I look at it from other way as well. Are we, is it too early for Europe? Are we still not quite ready for Europe? There's other it's a real big picture, isn't it? Getting into Europe,
It
it's all
is
right,
indeed.
but then again, have we got the depth? We've got the quality, without a doubt. We've got the quality, but have we got the depth? You know,
No,
I think we can see from recent weeks that we haven't got the depth, have we? So, but I mean, it would be a dream, and we're still not out of it. I mean, we've got 44 points now. I'm kind of predicting if we hit our peak again, possibly 12 points that we can get between now and the end of the season, which will give us 56.
okay.
Would that be enough for Europe, do you reckon?
I don't know. I
No.
really don't know. That's why I said it's lovely to hear the talk about Europe and obviously social media. You get blasted with too much. I took the trouble of not looking through too much over the last 24 hours because it just does my head. Um, I think definitely if if we get a Conference League place, all right, it's like testing the water a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah,
So it's not the top of Europe, but it's a test. I'll take it. I would
absolutely.
take it. Um,
Mm.
but then you would have to have a squad to compete. That is the thing.
Yeah,
Um,
and I mean, if you look at the journey West Ham went on, a few years back, I mean,
Wonderful.
that was, they loved that. The fans absolutely loved that, and they had their first European trophy in however long it was, and it was. It's even though they say it's the bottom tier of the European trophies, it's still a fantastic, competition to be involved in, and it's
Yeah,
a European trophy at the end of the day, isn't it? It's
of
like
course. Yeah.
It's not when you look at the likes of League, League One and League Two. As back in our day, the auto windscreen shield and the Johnson Paint Trophy, or whatever it's called these days. I think it's got some new name now as well, but that's a great competition for those kind of clubs to be in, because you get a Wembley final, and so these lower sort of what people call like whether they call Mickey Mouse Cups or whatever they want to call them, they're still great for the clubs that compete in them.
And there's money to be rewarded as well. It's financial reward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's see how it pans out. Obviously, like we've said, we've got quite a few games there. There's winnable games there. So let's see how it pans out. And hopefully at the end of the season, we can look back on the season and, see how successful we've been. But it's been great to have you join me tonight, Malcolm. It's been great to talk to you.
Thank you
Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you on, and hopefully we can welcome you on again, in the near future. But just before we go, we have got to give you the results of Guess the Cherry. So if I just go through the clues once again, very quickly, began his career at QPR, made 56 appearances in a Cherry shirt, scoring 8 times, played for Newcastle, Chelsea, Gillingham and Charlton, capped by England at youth and under 17 level, and he is now a Christian minister. He published his autobiography, A Greater Glory, From Pitch to Pulpit, in 2021. Now, Malcolm, I don't know if you want to have a go at guessing who it may be, but it's a player. I'll give you just one other clue. It's a player from the 1990-91 season. Who do you think it is?
Go for Gavin Peacock.
You're going to go for Gavin Peacock. Well, today's Guess the Cherry is that man himself, Gavin Peacock. Yeah, so it's Gavin Peacock this week. And we'll be back obviously next week with another Guess the Cherry as always. But once again, thank you, Malcolm, for joining us this week. It's been a pleasure to have you on. Hopefully we'll see you back on the show at some point in the future.
Well, I'll be available.
Happy days. Okay, and until next time,
up the cherries.
Up the cherries.
Okay.